Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to yet another edition of Monkey Business. It's Chris talking to you from the studios at WFC3. With me, as always, Billie, Tanya, Tony, Wayne, and Bryan with Deanna on the phone. How's everybody doing today?
Don't forget about Becca. She's here, too.
Becca's hanging out in the corner doing homework at the moment.
She's our silent partner.
She's going to be the silent partner. She's getting ready to jump in somewhere along the line today. She doesn't want, no, whoever does, really.
Tony.
Who does?
I do.
So welcome to, we're going to call this Season 2 of Monkey Business. We've gotten quite a few podcasts. This is our first recording session of 2017. You may be hearing this probably in February or March at this point, but this is it's early January for us here, and we're back in the studios for our first run of podcasts, and again, graciously, Billie hosting us as he has been on several occasions. So thank you to Billie.
Thank you to you guys showing up.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
So it's a lot of fun.
Put me in your little group.
There you go. Well,
you don't want to do this by yourself?
No.
We all have this habit of talking to ourselves. We just want to do it with people in the room. It makes us feel less weird.
It looks like we're having a conversation.
There you go. Exactly. So we're going to start our season 2 of 2017 off. We've done a lot of foundation chats over the past few months. We've talked about Star Wars, we've talked about Star Trek, we've talked about literature and comic books and movies and TV and all that sort of thing. We're going to bring in something today, an aspect that has been kind of integrating itself into comic book conventions, something that people wouldn't normally think is sci-fi or nerd world type culture, but has definitely become part of it. I made a reference to it a while back. A buddy of mine used to call it sudden violent comedy, and that is the wonderful world of professional wrestling. The World Wrestling Federation, World Wrestling Entertainment, WCW, TNA, all those initials that have popped up over the years.
ACW.
The ACW,
NWA.
the ACL. No, that's my knee. Never mind.
For life.
I'm going to be honest. There's a certain level of experience I don't have with this particular topic, so I'm looking forward to asking questions and having you guys.
Names.
Yeah, I know a couple names too. There's like a lot of obvious names that'll pop up, like Hulk Hogan and
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
There you go,
Macho Man.
Macho Man Randy Savage, and
no, not the song.
Snap into it.
So I'm expecting that I'm going to be kind of doing a kickback and asking questions kind of thing. So Bryan and Wayne and Billie, I know this is kind of a thing that you guys are definitely into. You really enjoy this stuff.
I've loved wrestling since I was a little kid, and as I get older, or just my thoughts on things change, I enjoy different aspects of wrestling.
Okay.
Like I always stay with the stuff that I initially loved, but I learn to appreciate more about it as I get older.
And you know what? It's still there. 20, 30 years later, the same guys are still there.
And I'm going to tell you, there's a reason for it, and there's a reason that it ties in very well with conventions, and that's because there's not a single person in this room that doesn't like superheroes. And when you're a kid and you start watching wrestling, that's your superhero live, come to life. You have your face, you have your heel, and you watch them battle it out right in the ring. There's not all those effects you see in the movie, but it's
the acrobatics, the strength, the skill, etc.
And there's a lot of that.
The bad acting. Now you brought up a couple.
The chair's coming out.
You brought up a couple of terms real quick, and I want you to define those because there's going to be people like me who are not in the know when it comes to professional wrestling. You said you said the face and the heel. Can you tell me a little bit more about those roles?
Well, in any good show, and it is a show, you have the hero. The face, the good guy, if you will, and you have the heel, the villain, the bad guy, if you will. So generally, there are times where you may have two heels face each other or two faces face each other in the ring.
Sort of like Superman versus Spider-Man.
There you go.
But in general, you have
Superman, Batman.
Versus Superman?
The Hulk.
That'd be face heel.
Yeah, Superman.
Face heel. Oh, okay. Interesting. So we can apply it to the comic book world to help me understand this. I got it.
It's guys in fancy costumes hitting each other.
But it'd be like Superman versus Lex Luthor now, even though Lex Luthor is a hero right now.
At the moment. So is that something that happens too, where the good guys will become bad guys, the bad guys become good guys?
You got to think these guys. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Deanna, do you want to jump in real quick?
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember for years Hulk Hogan was this hero, great guy, and all of a sudden he turned heel, and everybody's like, "Wait a minute, whoa!"
Hollywood Hulk
Hogan. And the same
Hogan.
thing with The Rock. The Rock used to be a heel, then he turned face. So
to keep things interesting and moving and storylines going, these guys are around for years and years. They do have to flip their characters every once in a while.
Okay.
With one major exception who refuses to do it, that I won't. John Cena currently. who probably could use a turn.
How come we don't have the Cena thing where it's John Cena?
Dun, 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 dun. Because I didn't think of it.
That's all right. Billy's working on that now.
Let me tell you,
Billy's on the
I could
on the
probably
task.
sing the whole. I could rap the whole thing for you. I got kids who love John Cena, so
This is only a 30-minute show.
And that's why
We can go over 30 now. That's fine.
absolutely.
This is season 2 now. We got new rules here. We
31.
We get 35.
Oh,
No, we actually
42.
You're going to actually
the light
listen to
universe
It's a
and
good tip.
everything.
It's a good tip. The to the listener, one of the things we did in season 1 is we kind of like tried to keep things at a half an hour. Now and then we found that it would cut the conversation off usually when we were kind of in a stride. So from here on in, we're just going to talk until we think we've gotten most of that particular conversation out of the way. So that might make it a little bit longer in the podcast sometimes, but you know what?
break it into 2 podcasts.
Well, yeah, we can do that too, but we're going to have ourselves some fun this season.
Can I tell you, I'm just loving the costumes that I'm seeing.
You know,
when
I think
have
it's more than just the
wrestling
costumes you're
up
looking
there.
at. She's like, ooh, beefcake. She's got a
it's
whole
not that.
screen full of guys
I
in
do.
tights right now.
But I'm just looking at the whole change from having all the mullets.
Who the hell is this guy?
I have no
Big
idea.
fella.
Are we talking Braun
bald-
Strowman there?
No,
Is that
bald.
what it is?
This
I
one.
can't tell from this far away.
Oh, is that Brent Stromer?
Ron Strowman.
All right.
I don't know.
He's
I'm just
dead.
Like,
He's
I'm
a
just-
big dude.
I'm just looking
Do you
at.
ever watch those events where like they go out and the lumberjacks like lifting the logs and doing all those things? He was, that's where they found him. That's where they discovered him.
I see.
It's like
But this-
the mountain in
I definitely remember
in
this
Game
part.
of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Billy,
Yes.
you are the
Oldest?
one of the longest running fans of. I was not
Yeah.
going to say oldest
I am
because
the
I don't make
oldest.
age
I
jokes.
think I'm the oldest
unless
in
I'm the one who's the butt of it.
Yeah.
But tell
could be
me
arranged.
what brought you. I mean, Bryan had a great point about seeing your superheroes for real and live and in person, throwing themselves around the ring, doing stuff, the fancy costumes, the makeup. What was one of your earliest memories of wrestling that kind of clicked with you? Like, I'm really having a good time with this.
Well, it started when I was a little kid in this early 70s. My dad used to have a part-time weekend job in a small, like, family-owned grocery store.
Okay.
And on Saturdays, I would go and hang out with him and watch wrestling in the back room of the grocery store. And just the early characters that I grew up watching. And, like, sudden violent comedies, it's guys punching each other and yelling at each
Yeah.
other. And there's good guys and bad guys. I see the correlation between comics and wrestling. It's flashy costumes. It's bad guys and good guys. And back when you're a little kid, you root for the good guys.
Of course.
When you get older, you sort of
You
go for the good. No, just like
Start enjoying the bad guys a little more.
Yeah, sort of like you sort of dig the Joker more than Batman sometimes.
Or you
So-
pick and choose. I mean, how do they play their character? Do you like the way that
Right.
they're doing things in the ring? You could pick and choose who you like because
There's some
you're
guys
not
that are
stuck
more
in that.
athletic, and you really like the way some guys fly around the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys you like the way they conduct an interview.
Mm-hmm.
They may not be the strongest in the ring, but if they put on a great interview, and some guys are good at both.
Okay.
And
those are the superstars.
Yeah,
Those are
Well,
the guys
Not
that.
necessarily, to be honest.
Okay.
With you. Those are those. Sometimes those guys, through political reasons, backstage reasons, don't get pushed as much as they should.
A lot of times, it's hard for talent to become a superstar because of all that behind the scenes politics. You could be the best talker, you could be the best, but if you don't have the look.
Like
that
right
they're
now,
looking for.
a guy named Kevin Owens is my favorite.
Okay.
And he is one of the top 5 guys right now.
He could
But
talk.
I don't know if he could talk that well. He's no Cena. He's no.
I think
to
he
me,
does
he's
very well on
funny,
the mic in the ring.
but he's
and I just
fat.
like the fact that
But he's fat?
Yeah.
He's my
Okay.
size, and he can run around. He could
He
do
can-
rolling senton. Okay,
Yeah.
he'll run at you and do a somersault and hit you in the corner of the ring.
Okay.
Ow.
Somebody my size, and I'm 5'10", 250.
He does some really
You're
athletic
not a small
stuff
dude.
That's
But that's cool though. So so it's the athleticism then. You can see this guy
a big
moving and
part of it,
grooving.
yep.
All right.
And from the female standpoint, and this is the total
Here it comes.
stereotype,
Are we talking
if a
divas?
guy is good looking, the females are going to love him.
Okay.
But what's the thing with the wet hair now? Everybody's got.
I don't know.
Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, just this mop of Jerry Lewis-like hair.
No, because when they're in the back getting ready to come out, they pour a bottle of water to stay kind of cool.
I think it's also to keep it out of their face when they're wrestling. It
Yeah.
kind of keeps it.
That's what braids are for.
That's what haircuts
Well,
are for
and
crying
that's
out
what,
loud.
Just shave
another
it off.
wrestler has gone into the braids. Bray Wyatt's gone into the braiding system to keep it out of his hair. Now that he's an interesting character.
He's out of the I'm a psycho lunatic Svengali now.
Yeah. Well, no, he's still in that, but he's braided his hair more than having it wet down like these other guys.
Bray Wyatt, the WWE wrecked a chance with him. He was the most over guy.
He still is over, but they just...
But not to the kid. The crowd used to react to his entrance like I've never seen before.
And just recently, they gave him the tag team titles, and within a couple of weeks, took him away from him, his first championship. Yeah, they've blown it time and time again. This is a person they tried to make a heel.
Okay.
And the crowd just
wouldn't want to buy into it.
They were
Who is this
behind
person again? What's his name?
His name is Bray Wyatt. If you want to pull up Bray.
No, I'm looking at all the. No,
Well, yeah, you can look at them later.
And he had
They'll
like,
still be there,
he
those
had like a
images.
cult that of people that would follow him.
And he still does.
With the guy with the goat mask
Yeah.
and everything.
Oh, wow, yeah, I can see how he would probably look like a bad guy, yeah. He
yeah.
looks like they plucked him right out of Deliverance.
Yeah.
But the crowd
I just-
loved him.
Y'all got a
looking.
pretty mouth.
Yeah.
His mic work is one of the reasons the crowd loved that guy. He can bring a story to life just by
Okay.
talking about it.
All right. And so the establishment has been trying to make him the bad guy, but the crowd will have nothing to do with that. They just want to love him.
Well, he is.
Well, he is in the ring. He still comes across as follow the buzzards and has this kind of cult following.
So is he kind of like an anti-hero then, almost like Deadpool?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, where he's the good guy, but he's bad about
See,
it.
the big problem isn't when the crowd likes a bad guy and roots for him. It's the opposite when
now
they
you're talking
boo a good guy.
Roman
Yeah.
Reigns.
And it just looks terrible on TV.
Okay.
Like Roman Reigns, who Bryan just brought up.
Now, who is this gentleman that we're talking about?
They've been
He's got
trying.
the Superman punch.
Yeah. They've been trying to make him the biggest star in the
So they're-
business.
like, I'm assuming that he's the Hulk Hogan for the generation,
Yes.
but nobody's
Yes.
taking
They
a
boo
shine
him.
to it.
They boo him loudly.
Why is that?
Well,
Because they're
there's
trying
a
too
few
hard to
reasons.
push him?
They're
Okay.
trying to push him too hard. They're pushing him down people's throat. Now he's perfect for the young kids because they see this really big guy out there doing the Superman punch and everything else. But the people who are paying the bills at this point for the WWE in this case are people who are in their 20s and 30s because they're the ones who are spending all sorts of money. They have the expendable income
Crazy
to do
amounts
that.
of money.
And this guy is terrible on the mic. Up until recently, his skills in the ring weren't really up to par, I would argue. And
He was green. He's being pushed before
he
he
wasn't
deserved
ready
it.
for it, and they were shoving him down. And he came up in a group called the Shield, which had two other members in the group, both of whom I would argue had much more talent and weren't as green in the ring, and they chose to push him.
But he's the
over
muscle,
them at
and the
first.
other two were the
and that-
athletic guys.
And that's why they tried to push him because they wanted, Cena's kind of.
They
phasing
wanted the guy
himself
with
out,
the
so
look.
They need someone
Okay.
else with that look. Yeah.
So it wasn't somebody who just naturally kind of came to the forefront and they kind of rallied around him. This is somebody that they picked and decided
He
to
had
shove
one
on.
really good. He had one great performance at a pay-per-view, the Royal Rumble, a couple years ago.
Okay.
where the crowd loved him, and then they tried to push him past that, and he wasn't ready for it yet. I don't believe.
No, he will be. He's getting better.
Yeah.
I see him developing now, but
But he's big and muscular, so that's the type that Vince McMahon and his
Okay.
followers.
but
like
what they
to-
really need to do for his development is make him a heel, let him go that way for a while, and then do the flip, and it works so well for so many people. So
Well,
Deanne,
look how
Deanne, what are you
The Rock-
saying?
The Rock started out for years as a heel, and then he flipped.
Do you remember when he came in as a good guy though? When he was Rocky Maivia?
For a real short time,
Yeah.
he was a good guy. Then he flipped, and then he flipped back again, and and he's been on the rise ever since.
And he got to use his own natural talent, his speaking
Right.
ability, which they kind of put a muzzle on him early.
I want a sandwich.
And
So-
part of the genius
Go
of
ahead.
the WWE is they can market the crap out of anything.
yeah, but they don't always choose the right thing. I mean,
No.
look at
And
Bray Wyatt is working great now, but when he came out as Husky Harris, nobody knew who he was. And
And I
a lot of
think
people
that-
probably forget that he was
I don't
Husky
remember
Harris.
this.
I think that's a strength and a weakness that they have is they can market them, but sometimes they don't pick the right person at
And
the
they
right
get
time.
bullheaded about it.
Yes, they do.
get stubborn.
Yeah,
Well, there's nowhere else to go, really. For
not anymore. No.
it's only them, or you're doing like garage, backyard wrestling. That's it.
So at this point, is there just one league? That's it? That's the only wrestling you get
No, well, it
is through
depends.
WWE?
If
There's
from the
others that
standpoint,
exist, but
Mm-hmm.
they're
Not
really
on that
hard to
level.
find. Yeah.
here's how I would
TNA is
describe it.
gone, isn't it?
No, TNA is available. It's on Pop TV, which is only available on DirecTV here locally. But you can get, if you have Time Warner, there is a channel you can go to and you can find it after the fact.
Yeah.
Okay, and they do all their shows taped. Ring of Honor does all their shows taped. So WWE is the only one big promotion that's doing everything
The
live
only
right now.
mainstream one.
But there, from the entertainment aspect, as a fan, it's hard to find these other organizations.
Yes.
So in many ways, the WWE becomes the only thing that they look for. But if you are an up and coming wrestler, this is a golden age for you, because there are all sorts of organizations, local organizations all over the company, that are being pulled. They're being pulled from to fill in your Ring of Honors,
Right.
your TNA, even your NXT, which is NXT is owned by WWE, but it's kind
It's
of
their
they treat it
farm.
as
It's their farm.
They treat it as like their AAA,
Right.
Yeah, okay. And then and then your goal then is whether they're going to be able to use you or not. If I'm a wrestler, I want to get to WWE because that's where I'm going to make
that's
the
where you're
money.
gonna make the money.
That's where you're going to make the money. But there are plenty of opportunities for people to slowly move up the ladder. You can't say that it isn't there, but whether it's accessible or not. And especially now with WWE having their own entertainment network.
And they're on
pushing
like
their
every
shows
day of
that
the
way,
week. Now, every day of the week, you can see WWE.
It's kind of become overkill.
Yeah.
I mean, when I try to talk to follow everything for the pain clinic every week, I got other things to do. I can't watch wrestling all the time. I got kids. I got
Why
a
not?
job. You know.
Oh, come on.
I
Surely
wish
you can do that. Now, okay, so wrestling is just a bunch of guys then. There's nobody
no,
else.
No. Especially now. Go, Dan, I'll let you
divas.
talk on this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, there wasn't females. You'd see the occasional female wrestler, like the
Fabulous Moolah.
but it was few and far between.
Wendy Richter.
A lot of times they were just pretty corner girls standing in the corner.
Miss
And
Elizabeth.
they've slowly evolved to where there are females. China was one of the first ones I really remember in the ring.
But there were so few females then. She started beating men for championships.
Well, she was so. I mean, physically, she was just so much
a
bigger
freak.
than all the rest of them. And they weren't really pushing the female as wrestlers back then, more than models. That back in Chris, what they would have called the Attitude Era of the WWE. Back then, there was some competition. There was the Monday Night Wars, WWE and WCW, and they, believe it or not,
Had the Nitro Girls.
they had the Nitro Girls, but they
Girls,
were outdrawing ESPN for viewers, or 13 or ABC or whatever
Monday
it is
Night
for Monday Night
Football.
Football.
Yeah.
You had two wrestling shows that were drawing more viewers each than Monday Night Football was at the time. So, back then they were using the female wrestlers as kind of eye candy. You remember all the bra and panties matches and all that stuff.
Yeah,
That they were
every
doing.
once in a while they'd come in and throw a hook or knock a guy down or something, but they never had full on championships and events where women were included in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, you had your Trish Stratuses and your, but for every one of those, you had your Melinas and other people who just were there to look at.
I mean, I look at Randy Savage and Elizabeth. She just stood there most of the time.
Yeah.
And there was
Looking pretty.
there wasn't enough people to bring her into the ring, and I don't think that Savage would have let her go in the ring anyways, because from everything you hear, he'd lock her up in the locker room in the back when. And it sounds funny, but I'm not joking.
That's the truth.
His persona that in the ring kind of followed him around.
Did he start believing in his own press?
I think he felt himself as a macho man when he came into the WWF versus the other way around.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right. So we've got a lot of that going on, and so as the person in the middle, and this is kind of cool. I usually can lead a discussion because I know where it's going, but in this case, I really don't, and that's kind of cool. I like learning something new right along with you guys. But one of the things that I'm going to address now is how do you handle it when somebody goes, "Oh, come on, wrestling's fake." That old mantra. How do you handle that?
I always say, you watch movies, don't you?
Uh-huh.
So
They're
are
all
movies. Movies are fake.
Okay, so you've got you guys who can embrace the fact that this is basically just this is an athletic show.
It's choreographed, but it's athletic as hell.
Oh yeah, I mean you can't look at a match and not think, okay, I want to see who would be good, Brad Pitt and Danny DeVito in the ring. You know
That's
go ahead.
well,
Not those two in particular.
Not those two in
but
particular,
those two
but I want to
type.
see them throwing. But so you've got these guys who are actors, probably bad actors. That's fine, but the athleticism you can't deny. So that's basically you're able to kind of like process that. Billy, you say, okay, you can think of it. It's like a movie.
You can't believe that Triple H is going to take a sledgehammer into a ring and
actually use it.
If he used it right, people would not be getting back up.
No, it's true.
Right.
So,
You have to leave that belief at the door. You have to have a sense of disbelief when you walk in.
Okay.
But you got the same thing when you go see Star Wars, Star Trek, any superhero movie. You have to treat it that. What's happening in the ring is I mean, you could say not everything's real, but these guys are hitting each other,
and
it is physical.
They have to be ready to wrestle almost every night of the week,
and it's scripted. No,
is it
no
predetermined
doubt.
who's going
Yes.
to
Yeah,
win
but,
at the
yes.
end?
Yeah, but yes. But so is the end of the movie. They know who's going to be.
Are there times where they go?
Standpoint.
Are there times where they go off script?
Yes,
Rarely,
Yes.
but yeah. it usually makes news if that happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like... My tag for wrestling, and I've said this for years, wrestling is soap operas for men.
it is.
It is, and it has developed over the years. The bad acting, I think, has.
But there are times where it's really good and you really get involved.
That's my point. In the 80s, I would have said the same thing. Look how many Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan, they tried to transition over, and it didn't work because their personas in the ring and the way that they acted in the ring, because they acted as if this was an undetermined outcome. This was a sporting event, like if I went to a football game and watched it, and you're not going to know what's going to happen.
Right.
How many times you could see them pounding their foot on the floor whenever they threw
Ric
a
Flair's
punch.
interviews back then were tremendous.
Oh, absolutely. But my point being, the carryover now, you see these guys. You see a Rock who's a superstar in the entertainment industry now.
Yeah.
You see
I liked him
John
in the
Cena starting to establish himself. All the movies, whether they're good or not, that are being put out by the WWE itself with these guys in those movies. I would suggest the acting is nowhere near a poor quality as it was back when I started watching in the late 70s, early 80s, as it is now. I think they're much better.
And there's different things for different people. There's sort of serious storylines where you really do get involved and it looks like there's tensions. And then there's just straight out comedy. Just stuff that's absolutely ridiculous and you laugh at it. And it's the stuff that when you're watching it with someone that doesn't like wrestling, it's the stuff that sort of makes you cringe a little.
Wasn't it the Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan got arrested? Because they were smoking pot together.
Yeah,
but
they were supposed to be enemies in the ring.
Enemies in the ring, and then as soon as it's like the sheepdog and the wolf in the Bugs Bunny Bunny in the cartoons, where it's like when the clock rings, they go to work.
Hey Ralph.
Hey Ralph. Yeah.
On a side note, you mentioned the Iron Sheik. Unfortunately, the Sheik isn't doing conventions anymore. He was one of the people I wanted to try to bring in.
Oh yeah, I see him.
Health-wise, he really has trouble getting around. I think he's bound to a wheelchair at this point.
Okay.
So
I see him pop up on Facebook every so often because I got a buddy of mine who lives in Long Island who is an avid wrestling fan to this day. So he'll always post Twitter posts and Facebook posts from all these different wrestlers. And he plays that character to this day when he's online. You can see, because I remember I watched it in the late 80s and early 90s when I was in college. You know, I had my friends who were really into it, so I was kind of guilt by association. Yeah, I was kind of guilt by association. I'd watch. I got into some of the storylines because everybody else was, that kind of a thing.
You mean this one?
Yeah, yeah, that's him.
Yeah, okay.
And I do remember the way he would talk, the way he would deliver lines, and it was just so obvious he was playing a character, and it was funny to watch. But to see him still holding on to that, so when he posts online, it's all capital letters, and he puts on the bombast, and it's fun to watch. I got to tell you, it is funny to watch that in action. But let me these guys who are still, they were big in the 60s, 70s, 80s that are still with us.
Yep.
Are they still kind of active? Do you still see them pop up every so often?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Once you don't really ever retire from wrestling, do you?
Sometimes you're forced to retire physically.
Injuries,
But like Bob Backlund, who is the biggest champion, in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, he's still hanging on as a manager for one of the other guys.
And he's taking bumps.
Yeah.
Okay. A bump is when you take a shot, fall to the ground in any way. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you get body slammed, the person who gets slammed just took the bump.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm learning terminology here.
But then there's a lot of these. A lot of these wrestlers are also superhero fans. You had the Hurricane. You have
that's right.
Who's the guy who just quit WWE? And it was,
CM Punk.
CM Punk.
Yeah, he's writing comics now.
Yeah, he's writing comics.
Oh, really?
Now. Yeah.
Actually, he's been for a while. But he is writing comics.
Thor
yeah. But they are comic book fans.
Okay. Well, that actually kind of leads into it. I've met Brimstone.
Yes.
Who has a book, a title that he's drawing himself, I believe. Is that what it is? Or is he writing?
I don't know, is he drawing or writing?
I don't remember exactly his involvement with it.
I'm not sure. I haven't met him.
But I've met him on a couple occasions, and he's funny as hell. I love that guy. He is amazing.
Listen, we've interviewed a bunch of wrestlers for Weeze's show for different reasons. You know, when wrestling comes to town or pay-per-views or whatever. And they're almost always just a lot of fun to talk to and really interesting. And Weeze, who doesn't like wrestling, always winds up enjoying the conversations.
Oh, cool. That's good.
That he has with these people, because for the most part they don't stay in character.
Okay.
You know, when you stay in character, sometimes it's hard because just because. So if a guy's willing to joke around and open up, you know, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can get some of that background stuff that you wouldn't get if they stay in character.
Yeah.
Things that are going on. We recently interviewed Jeff Hardy. Great interview. Right. Go back on the Pain Clinic website. Go back and listen to that. That was the end of 2016, our last episode. But yeah, just talk these guys. It's like they talk about race in the auto racing industry, how great those guys are for fans. Most of these guys, as long as you don't try to go up to them at like the airport or any time on their personal time, where they're trying to, they got to have some downtime, trying to get out of their face, so don't get up.
But it's hard when you're 6'8" and 300 pounds.
You stand out in the crowd.
Normal.
Yeah.
Bryan, let me ask you, the Hardy Boys, that's a thing? That's a real thing? What do they do? They solve mysteries?
No.
When they're not wrestling?
Right now, they delete people.
They delete people.
They're in
Dalek?
No, Cybermen do the
that's exterminate. Sorry.
No, they go delete, and with the hand going. But Matt Hardy kind of redefined. Matt and Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys, from when they were in WWE, are now Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero.
Yeah,
and they've gone heel. They've done some very interesting things. I would, if you could find any of the total deletion things they've done, and I know you can on YouTube. Jeff Hardy has land down in Florida. They've done stuff right there, and in the ring, outside the ring, jumping off 20, 30 foot tall cross on top of each other,
God.
Shooting a Roman candle at the other person. So they've
done they're taking it to a different
isn't that
different
kind
level.
of like some of the stuff they do in Japan?
Oh, and we haven't even mentioned that. Yeah. Japan is a whole nother animal.
Like the Taipei death matches with bags of broken glass in the
Holy
ring.
Christmas! Seriously?
Yeah.
Everybody,
how do you fake that?
Everybody in this room has been to some sort of sporting event at one time or another.
Yeah.
Okay, now you hear how quiet it is with everybody aside from myself talking in here right now. When there's a match going on in Japan, that's how quiet it is in the arena.
So no, there's no cheering, no screaming, no yelling.
Not while the match is going on. No.
Okay. Well, Japan's an entirely different planet in terms of culturally speaking.
And now you've got the Lucha Libre.
You have the
Lucha
Mexican
Underground.
Lucha Underground going on. So you have New Japan Pro Wrestling, the United Kingdom Championship. I think they crowned that yesterday, or at least it started or maybe today.
I think tonight on the WWE
tonight they're
network,
finishing up the championship on the WWE network.
All right, so
Bryan, you mentioned, just want to go back to what Bryan said about how fan friendly the wrestlers are. John Cena is the #1 wish granter for Make-A-Wish.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And it isn't even close. If you look it up, it's not even close.
Not even close.
And as long as we're talking Cena, I got a question for Bryan, for Wayne, for Deanna, because I'm a John Cena fan. People don't like. There's chants that go on. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks. Let's go Cena. So most of the grown-ups hate John Cena, and I don't understand it. You can't tell me the last time he's had a bad match. He hasn't given 100%. His interviews are phenomenal. Why don't people like John Cena?
I agree with you. I'm a Cena fan, and I try not to talk about Cena too much when we're on the Pain
Wasn't
Clinic.
it back when he was the guy with the big the rap guy with the chain.
Yeah, that's when he started. He was actually a heel when he started. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Photoshop.
No, he was wearing a chain. Well, that may be there, but he wore a chain like that to the ring.
Interesting.
They just got. I think they've gotten tired of. They feel like he's been shoved down their throat.
But he
for
can
so
still
long.
have a better match than Roman Reigns could
you go.
against the
but
greatest
these same
wrestler
guys
in the
hate
world.
Roman Reigns too.
Yeah.
So a lot of it comes down to they feel that
He's a good guy.
That he's held other wrestlers back in things too. I'm sorry, Tony.
Well, as
go
long
ahead.
as you
I
got
think
the
what it is at least from my perspective, he's been turned into quite a bit of a meme in at least in my community. So I think a lot of people see that and are annoyed.
So he's almost
by
like the punchline to a joke?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Well,
So are you guys saying that he's oversaturated the market?
That would be a good way. That would be a nice technical way to describe it. I think.
Let's put it this way: back when Triple H was big, there were other wrestlers around that were just as big.
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels.
Right.
You had Mankind, or whichever
Mick Foley.
version of Mick
Yeah, I know
Foley
who that
you
is.
wanted
I know
to.
who that is.
There were other big name. They haven't been able in Cena's 10 years with the company. I don't think they've been able to promote too many guys to that level. Randy Orton was already there.
Yeah, or
So
guys
you
like
have the one guy that they've been pushing down everybody's throats, and I think that's annoyed people.
But when someone just sort of naturally captures the audience's heart, like say CM Punk or Daniel Bryan, the Vince McMahon will just cut them off.
And
well,
I
they
don't get
also
it.
got hurt.
Yeah, true. But
okay, Daniel Bryan got hurt. And he probably will never wrestle again, at least with the WWE. But it took them well over a year.
Right.
The fans were hugely behind this guy.
Yep.
And it took them well over a year to do any sort of push for him. And that goes back to the whole thing of why they're pushing Reigns. It's a size thing. Daniel Bryan, probably not much taller than me, 5'10", a small guy, very talented in the ring. Extremely talented, had a huge following because he was on the independent circuit before he came to the WWE. In fact, I think he came right from Ring of Honor straight to WWE, and people knew him, they loved him, and they wanted the push, and it just didn't. It didn't help that he got fired that when he was with the Nexus that one time when he spit on John Cena and he actually spit in Cena's mouth, I guess. Not on purpose. And WWE fired him. But the interesting thing there is Cena was instrumental in making sure he got his job back. So all these guys who hate Cena for things like that.
All right, so
most people,
go ahead, Dee.
people know that, Brian, or
and that's
is
the
it
problem.
just-
They don't research those things. They just believe what they're being told.
All right, so
which is
go ahead.
a problem in society today, anyways. It's a whole nother.
That's another story entirely. That's a
Yes.
different commentary. Take me as a long time I was a casual fan. Nowadays, I don't think I've watched more than like enough to know that that's what's on TV. Change the channel. I'm surfing and then I find it. I'm like, oh, wrestling. Click. Keep going. What would you say to me to want to get into it with you guys? So when we have conversations, I know what you're talking about. You're like, no, Chris, you're missing out on something. You really need to watch this, and you need to watch for this. What would be the thises in this conversation to get me to start watching this?
If I was to introduce you to it, I would suggest I'd have to give you my account information because I'm not going to tell you sign up for the WWE Network.
Okay.
But
I
I would
could get a
suggest,
free month.
I would suggest watching NXT.
NXT?
The problem with Raw and SmackDown to a lesser extent is they've got a 3-hour show on Monday nights. And they spend
and 2 hours of it is talking.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They just keep recapping what's already happened, recapping what happened last week. If you really want to watch and see the talent that's going on in the ring, you're going to get in that 1-hour NXT show. You'll get more action in ring than you're going to get in the 3 hours that you see on Raw on Monday night.
Billie, is there a particular character? I mean, you've mentioned John Cena on a couple of occasions, but is there a particular character that you would recommend I start watching?
Let's see.
Following?
Well, I always like the first, say, 10 to 15 minutes of Raw every week, whatever's going on. That's when they set up the show, and that's usually when I get my biggest laughs. Right now, my favorite guys are the tag team of Enzo Amore and Big Cass.
You've talked about Enzo in the past. I've heard you mention that, and there's like some sort of a chant that the crowd gets into.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't teach that, baby.
And you can't teach it, but the crowd knows the whole intro. From the second he goes, my name is Enzo Amore, and I'm a certified G, and the crowd just
jumps in right there.
For the next minute and a half, we'll
Everybody's
say
going with
exactly what he says.
Okay. I seem to, if I go far enough back in my memory to when I was actually watching it with my college buddies, I seem to remember when the NWO had popped up, and then there was this one Mexican fella who would come up and he would do the same thing each time, and the crowd was kind of like following along. So it's basically it's pulling the crowd in. So this is a big thing. If a character can get something that can bring the crowd to them, that's gonna enhance their stock at all or something along those lines.
Yeah, one thing I recommend though is WWE produces a lot of documentaries about their biggest stars.
Okay,
and even though my wife Susan doesn't love wrestling, if I'm watching one of those documentaries, she is transfixed on their stories, and next thing you know, she wants to watch them wrestle.
Well, in her heart and soul, she's a newswoman. She likes to she likes to see the background. She wants to understand the story.
Like CM Punk was one of my favorites. I brought him up already.
Okay,
there's a documentary called "The Best in the World," and it's an hour and a half about CM Punk and how his life story and his travails through the wrestling business. And I think it's a fantastic movie.
Okay. And he's no longer involved in wrestling.
No, he went to UFC, got knocked out in 48 seconds.
Oh, jeez.
2 minutes and 48 seconds.
Was it? Yeah. Well, the funny thing, now that I mentioned that, during a Raw a
lasted
couple
longer
weeks
than Ronda
ago,
Rousey. Anyway.
He's from Chicago, and last time Monday Night Raw was in Chicago.
Okay.
Monday Night Raw opens up with Stephanie McMahon in the ring.
And she's who?
She's Vince McMahon's daughter.
And Vince McMahon's the guy who owns WWE.
And Triple H's wife.
Triple H.
For real this time.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Vince McMahon is Triple H's wife?
No.
Okay.
Stephanie
McMahon is Triple H's wife.
So they're in charge.
Triple H married Chyna for a minute.
No, they weren't
married.
No, they were going out.
They were together.
And then she dumped.
Was that a real thing or was that a stage thing?
Not real.
That was real?
Behind the scenes, Chyna was always bitter to WWE because she felt like Stephanie went behind her back.
No, that's the poor one. She's from the Rochester area, Chyna.
She was from Fairport. Chyna was from Fairport.
What was her name?
Joni Lauer.
Joni Lauer.
And she recently passed away.
Yes.
Last year.
Yeah, she was
right
part of the
convention.
2016 Exodus.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about 2016 anymore if we can help it.
So, the last show that was in Chicago, the crowd just starts chanting CM Punk, because that's where CM Punk's from. And Stephanie McMahon says, if you do that for another minute and 45 seconds, you'll do that longer than CM Punk's whole UFC career.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I like CM Punk. I like guys that are athletic.
Yeah, I like it. And I'm going to turn the question back on you, Chris.
Yeah.
To give you someone to follow, it would depend on what are you looking for? You're looking at someone who's going to entertain you from an athletic perspective, or someone who's going to entertain you from that entertainment, keep you laughing, keep you on the edge
And
of
actually,
your seat.
to me, Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho do both.
They do both,
Yes.
but you could, if you want to go further in the other direction, Santino's no longer there, but you could go to
Santino.
Santino Morello was great. He was
that
great comic
Don't
relief.
you know a Santino?
Yeah, Santino.
I didn't know he got into wrestling.
Yeah.
The sock guy.
Shaka when the walls fell.
I would suggest you get some Bootios if you want to get.
I would seriously. I think now that I'm listening to you guys talk about it, I would probably want to watch the athleticism just to see them throw each other around, see how it worked, because I grew up with theater, and so I don't need to see people shouting and screaming and telling how they're going to own each other or whatever. I want to see, because for me, as I was a part-time fan even when I watched it, and so if I wanted to get into it now, I would want to first alleviate that. Well, okay, it's fake, but still, appreciate the choreography, appreciate the athleticism, the strength that goes into it, and appreciate what these people are throwing themselves through. So I probably want to watch it just for the actual action itself.
You're going to see a lot of that on NXT.
There was an organization in the 90s and early 2000s called ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling.
I remember ECW.
And
McMahon bought him.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, they were about to go under, which is why you bought them.
Yeah.
But the just torturous matches where
the things they would do to each other.
People that knew wrestling was fake were sure this wrestling is real because they were insane.
There was blood every week, no doubt.
There were people doing the craziest stuff, diving off of balconies and hitting each other with real trash cans.
That's where
barbed wire bats.
People were allowed to bring weapons to the matches. Like
seriously,
fans would bring cookie sheets and cheese
and
graters
hand them to the wrestlers.
That's not where Sandman came from, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
People would bring stuff, and then the wrestler would go down and grab something from an audience member and use it on his opponent.
I think it's the first place I saw Negan's bat was in the ECW.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not joking.
You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille.
But if you want to watch for pure athleticism, don't worry about that. I would suggest on a WWE network.
Okay.
They went out for the Cruiserweight Classic, and they pulled, I think it was 24, 25 guys
Yeah.
who had nothing to do with WWE, just from all these different organizations. All these guys, 205 pounds or less, and put them in a tournament, predetermined winner for each match again. But just the athleticism.
Just showing off what they could do.
And showing off what they could do. Because they were really...
They wanted jobs
to try to get a job with WWE. That was their interview to get a job with WWE. So I highly recommend the Cruiserweight Classic. Yeah. And if you're going to watch something on a weekly basis and only one thing, I would watch NXT. Those are the new guys that are going to be coming up anyways. And
what about
be my
the
suggestion.
Lucha Underground?
I always forget what channel that's on.
I haven't watched much
El
of
Rey.
it. It's a particular type of wrestling. Right. I've never been a huge fan of it myself.
That's where Rey Mysterio is. He's there now.
But it is
Rey
very
Mysterio
athletic.
was still a thing. I remember that name.
He's there
there's
now.
a senior now. There's a junior, and junior's actually pretty old now.
Okay.
Wow. The type of stuff that makes you embarrassed to be a wrestling fan was the when
your son shows up or when your father comes in and then starts beating up on people.
Well, what was when they had the little kid on the pole and whoever won the match would adopt the kid?
Oh my God!
Eddie Guerrero's kid on a pole or match
so I'm not going to suggest that the things they come up with are all the best ideas in the world.
I guess there's only so much you can do with big hulking guys.
And you've only got that space in the ring, so I mean, eventually you got to try to find other ideas.
Right.
So,
all right. This is awesome. Okay, I'm enlightened.
My question is...
Oh, here it comes.
No, in terms of bringing wrestlers to conventions, I went to Niagara Falls Comic-Con last year, and Shawn Michaels was legitimately like the biggest draw there. You couldn't get near him, former WWE champion.
But he was a lot for an autograph, too.
Yes, he was. What are we thinking about bringing wrestlers that it didn't exactly work out for us last year?
I think what happened with 2016, we had scheduled to have George the Animal Steele come in, and that's a classic name. He's a wrestler. He's one of the legends. He's Hall of Fame, and but unfortunately, George still has a lot of health issues. I mean, older fella. He's been through a lot. And we wish him well. He's still with us, thank God.
Chico Santana?
We had Tito Santana come in.
Yes.
And then,
what
we did
Chico
is
Santana.
The week before, like the Monday before the show was supposed to open, is when George's representatives called us and said, hey, unfortunately, George is not going to make it. We feel bad. Unfortunately, this is not going to happen. Here, we can give you in touch with a couple of guys to help fill the void. And instead of stepping back and thinking about it and going, okay, what can we not do? We kind of really just knee-jerk reaction. We jumped and we took in people that we probably should have not.
Nasty Boys, right?
A little better.
Nasty Boys and Tito Santana. Now, Tito was awesome. Yeah. Tito was very gentleman.
Tito Santana, to me, is about the same caliber of guest as George.
Yeah, he had the same level there. So, for me, as a non-fan of wrestling and a relatively still inexperienced conventioneer, I weigh these things, I question them, but listening to you guys talking about the passion that Bryan comes, and no, Bryan does not get this deep into just about anything. I mean,
these are one of the things that I could talk about without having to do a bunch of research or anything.
Exactly, one of those things. So that kind of weighs on me. And I know there's an audience for it. And Billie, you'd brought it up a couple of times about other, wrestlers at conventions and whatnot. So I definitely think that wrestlers at FC3 is going to be a thing.
But it's the same demographic, really, because it's the same age. It's the same males, like 16 to 30. That the same demographic. And that's where a lot of that's for TV and stuff. That's what you're looking to get.
I will say this. I will guarantee you that we will have at least one wrestling guest this year. Okay?
Exactly who? We're not sure.
I have a pretty good idea of
He's brought me a couple of names. He knows what's going on.
There's one that I want to bring in just for Sunday, but I don't want to spoil that yet till we make a final decision on that. But we will, and I kind of like the idea of having a different guest Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah,
make you want for more, come in for one on Saturday, come back and meet the other on Sunday.
We can safely assure that the guest we have in mind is not going to encourage you to say your prayers and have your vitamins and things like that. So we're not there yet, but
well, that's that era
people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people
you're referring to there. Though, if I bought comic books in that era, there were things. Are you a wimp? Do you need to be a super guy? You
the Charles
You
Atlas.
get the Charles Atlas vitamins. It was the same thing.
Same
back
thing.
In that day.
Same thing.
Kicking sand in
I
your
think
face.
we're better. We're much in a better situation to promote all of our guests this year than we were last year, just from the experience. And I'm not just our wrestling guests, but all of the guests that we had. And I got to thank the guys at the Pain Clinic because it's a great opportunity to promote that someone's coming on the Pain Clinic.
That's great. Yeah, those guys are awesome over there. How long you been with them now?
Just over a year.
That's awesome. So you having fun over there?
Absolutely.
That's good.
It kind of shoots my weekend when I got to be here 2 days, but at least it's not 7 like Billie. So
Billie is thinking to himself, radio is my life. Yay, radio is my life. All right, so anything else, any last minutes we want to add to this particular conversation, knowing that we can always come back to it down the road?
I just like to say in the future I'd like to talk a little bit about the ups and downs of the industry, how it's changed over the course of time.
And it is cyclical in terms of even my interest, where at times I'm so into it, and then there are times where I just kind of don't care and don't really watch until something grabs me again.
Like,
something will pull me back in.
Well, there's always going to be a turnover. There's always going to be new characters and old characters leaving, new characters coming in. So I suppose, while there might be a lull in the storm, there's always going to be somebody who might reattract your attention down the road.
Right. So
very cool. Well, thanks, guys. I mean, seriously, for me, for every podcast we've had, I've kind of led the discussion, and I have a hunch of what's going on. But here, this is new territory for me, and you guys brought me to that, so I really appreciate that. That's cool.
Well, thanks for letting us spread our wings.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we're going to do that a lot more. There's going to be a lot of different conversations coming up in this season too. So
next podcast, Chris's 10 favorite wrestlers.
10 favorite wrestlers. Let's see. There's
I could tear that one apart real quick.
2.
Who's the ones I know? Oh, God.
There's Hulk.
There's Hulk. There's Roddy
Rock.
Piper. There's The Rock. Andre the Giant.
Steve Austin.
Steve Austin.
Okay, thanks, Steve Austin. Marty
Ultimate
Jannetty
Warrior.
is a name that I remember.
Marty Jannetty.
There's one you're not going to hear anyone else say either.
Really?
Yeah. Oh,
Did I just tag on? Does he suck?
No, well.
I just remember the guy existed. I don't remember if he was good or not. Did he really? Yeah. All right, that's a talk for another day.
Okay.
All right. Do
Chris
we
is like, that's it.
Do we
I
have
don't
new
have
closing
time.
music for season 2?
Oh, shoot, no.
You got to do this.
It's a classic.
It is a classic.
Yeah.
It may eventually grow on me by season 4. This has been Monkey Business, a production of The Mighty Monkey, producers of the Flower City Comic Con. FC3's next show will be May 20th and 21st of 2017 at the Rochester Riverside Convention Center. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/FC3ROC. Like our page and love us forever. We'll talk to y'all soon. See you, bye.